Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Well, I hope everyone is having a lovely day. Yesterday was Mueller Day. Oh, what an incredible day. Mueller basically exposed himself as having no control over the operation. Clearly, he was a figurehead brought in as some type of insurance policy against the insurance policy against the insurance policy. Every time the deep state struck out, they had some type of contingency plan. And when he wasn't able to get the job as FBI director, he was installed as the special counsel as some type of a blockade against President Trump and his agenda. We are going to get into that right here in a few moments. But the first post of the day that I have here, 2019, the year of the boomerang. This is the year that everything begins to backfire on the Democrats and the deep state. We have got so many posts to go over today, many of them from yesterday. But yesterday, of course, as you remember, was our Robert Mueller testimony and the hearings special edition of the show. Today, we are going to talk about all of the posts that happened yesterday and up until the point at which I am recording this video, and I'll be very honest with you, it's very early on Thursday morning. So there may even be more posts by the time I wake up in the morning, and if there are, I will add them onto the video. But like I said, year of the boomerang, the year that everything comes back on the Democrats. All right, we'll be right back in a moment after a brief word from my sponsor. It only takes one major disaster to remind us how fragile life is and our systems are. Recent earthquakes in California have done just that for many people. Life can change in a flash, and all too often it does. When emergencies strike, are you prepared for the days without electricity and stores being damaged or closed? Well, if not, today's a good day to make a plan and prepare for those disasters. I've done this myself, and I started with building a food storage plan. I trust and use My Patriot Supply, and I think you should too. This month, they're running a sale price for a 2-week emergency food kit on my special website, preparewithredpill78.com. You can save 40% when you click the link in the description below and order it today. It gets shipped discreetly to your home. These 2-week emergency food kits include breakfast, lunches, dinners, and they last up to 25 years in storage. Preparing for emergencies with My Patriot Supply is the smart thing to do, and if you do it now, you'll save 40% at preparewithredpill78.com. That's preparewithredpill78.com. It is happening. DOJ has reinstated capital punishment per William Barr. This is from the DC Patriot. Oh my gosh. This is a breaking story on Thursday morning as Attorney General William Barr has ordered the Justice Department to reinstate capital punishment. You can read the full statement from the Department of Justice right here. Let's take a look. All right, the United States Department of Justice for immediate release, federal government to resume capital punishment after nearly 2-decade lapse. Wow. Attorney General William P. Barr has directed the Federal Bureau of Prisons to adopt a proposed addendum to the Federal Execution Protocol, clearing the way for the federal government to resume capital punishment after a nearly 2-decade lapse, and bringing justice to victims of the most horrific crimes. The Attorney General has further directed the acting director of the BOP, Hugh Hurwitz, to schedule the executions of 5 death row inmates convicted of murdering, and in some cases torturing and raping the most vulnerable in our society, children and the elderly. Congress has expressly authorized the death penalty through legislation adopted by the people's representatives in both houses of Congress and signed by the President, Attorney General Barr said. Under administrations of both parties, the Department of Justice has sought the death penalty against the worst criminals, including these 5 murderers, each of whom was convicted by a jury of his peers after a full and fair proceeding. The Justice Department upholds the rule of law, and we owe it to the victims and their families to carry forward the sentence imposed by our justice system. The Federal Execution Protocol Addendum, which closely mirrors protocols utilized by several states, including Currently, Georgia, Missouri, and Texas replaces the 3-drug procedure previously used in federal executions with a single drug, pentobarbital. Since 2010, 14 states have used pentobarbital in over 200 executions in federal courts, including the Supreme Court, have repeatedly upheld the use of pentobarbital in executions as consistent with the Eighth Amendment. Wow, guys, this is incredible news right here. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts on this massive news out of the Justice Department today? There's only one reason in my mind why this is happening, because it will be necessary in the very future. We will need to execute criminals that are brought before military tribunals because they are criminals against the United States and criminals against the American people. All right, thank you for sticking around. Next post, 3473, Mueller is a puppet who attempted to regain control of the FBI and protect the deep state. There are puppets and there are puppet masters. Which is Mueller? He's clearly a puppet. Attempt to replace James Comey as FBI director failed, and that was an attempt to regain FBI control. Plot and plan backup to initiate special counsel to safeguard against prosecution regarding illegal and criminal actions. Special counsel equals blockade. Special counsel equals loss of FBI command and control safeguard. DOJ depends on what agency for investigating criminal actions. That is the FBI. Now remember, Mueller, Uranium One. Mueller, Epstein, Barry, and cover-up. Mueller, plot to remove duly elected POTUS. Biggest scandal in American history. Treason. 2019, year of the boomerang. Guys, if anyone still has any doubts that we are not going to see arrests and people being taken down for the actions they've played, then you have got to be asleep at this point. We are being clearly told right here exactly what the special counsel investigation was all about. We've known it for a long time. We've been talking about it for going on 2 years now. This was what happened. Mueller tried to regain control of the FBI. When he couldn't regain control of the FBI, they installed him as the special counsel. But he's only a puppet. That's why he didn't have any idea about what he was talking about during those hearings yesterday. He was simply there as a figurehead. He was meant to oversee. Everyone else did all of the work, and like I said yesterday, he probably sat in his office and played Sudoku and drank whiskey all day, freaking out about the fact that the deep state was losing control of this giant apparatus, the political machine that was the U.S. government. But now it is something entirely different. Donald Trump has been installed as president of the United States thank you to the power of the American people and the might of military intelligence and the White Hats. All of us together, we brought Donald Trump into power, and now he is returning that power back to us. And we will see the deep state go down for all of the crimes they have committed. Mueller was probably freaking out big time today, because now that it's over, now that this last hurdle has been passed, there is nothing standing in the way. The investigation's over. They found nothing. The questions are over. They could not find a single thing to help them in their case. The Democrats are truly about to get smacked in the face with the boomerang of everything that they set into motion. Now, post 3474, video proof Representative Ilhan Omar is the real racist. Now, let's take a look here. QAnon pastry chef status on Twitter. All right, so QAnon's pastry chef says irrefutable evidence that Ilhan Omar is a dangerous racist and bigot. Please retweet. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do that here before we watch the video.
A lot of conservatives in particular would say that the rise in Islamophobia is a result not of hate, but of fear, a legitimate fear, they say, of quote-unquote jihadist terrorism, whether it's Fort Hood or San Bernardino or the recent truck attack in New York. What do you say to them?
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
Wow, profiling and watching, trying to stop the rise of the white man. This woman is so backwards in her thinking. All right, clearly the thing we need to worry about is the violent extremism coming from basically Ilhan Omar and the people that she represent. And I'm not only talking about people from, radical religious groups. I'm talking about people on the radical left. Now, Q asks us, who are the real racists? Projection does not work when we, the people, are awake. And we, right now, as a people, are more awake than we ever have been. Now, post 3476, redrop the power of free thought. Decide for yourself. Be free from outside opinion. Decide for yourself. Be objective in your conclusions. Decide for yourself. Be true in your own beliefs. Decide for yourself. Be opening to following the facts. Decide for yourself. Be strong in defending your beliefs. Decide for yourself. Be resistant to blindly accepting factless statements. Decide for yourself. Be free. Those who attack you, those who mock you, those who cull you, those who control you, those who label you, do they represent you? Or do they represent themselves in some form? Mental enslavement, the Great Awakening, freedom of thought was designed and created not only as a back channel to the public, away from the long-standing mind control of the corrupt and heavily biased media, to ensure future events through transparency and regeneration of individual thought, breaking the chains of groupthink, but more importantly, aid in the construction of a vehicle, a love, devotion, and sense of attachment to a homeland and alliance with other citizens who share the same sentiment. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and/or the stable. When you are awake, you stand on the outside of the stable, groupthink collective, and have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that positions regarding truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, empiricism, rather than authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma. When you are awake, you are able to clearly see. The choice is yours and yours alone. Trust and put faith in yourself. You are not alone, and you are not in the minority. Difficult truths will soon see the light of day. Where we go one, we go all. That was from March 12th. This is exactly what we are seeing happening right now here in America. The rebirth of patriotism, the rebirth of national identity, the rebirth of America, making America great again. You know, I always tell people here on the channel, don't believe me. Go do your own research. Don't just follow what I'm saying. I am just a guy who's trying to figure this all out just like you guys. I bring this to you because I believe in the message of what's being put out for us by Q Team, by the president, and by all of us together. We no longer stand amongst the herd like all of the sheep that many of us once were, okay, that many people still are in America, many on the left. We have awakened. We now have freedom of thought. We have the ability to use our minds to express ourselves, to research everything that we see come across our screens. We have the ability to use logic and reason and determine what is true. We can feel this within ourselves because we have the ability to do it, because we have been given it by God, and we have been returned to this state of thought by President Donald Trump and by Q Team. No longer do we rely on authority, tradition, and revelation by our handlers. We are doing this for ourselves, and it is such a beautiful time to be alive. Another thing that I love to say in this channel, I love to be alive. I wake up every morning so filled with joy and hope because I know that we are winning. Now, post 3477, the power of Anon research. And let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, it is an article from Fox News on that clip that we watched just a moment ago. In resurfaced interview, Ilhan Omar answers questions on jihadist terrorism by saying Americans should be more fearful of white men. In a resurfaced interview from 2018, anti-Trump Democrat Ilhan Omar responded to a question about the quote-unquote legitimate fears some people have of jihadists by saying Americans should be more fearful of white men. In the interview, Al Jazeera host Mehdi Hassan said some Americans feel justified in fearing Islam not out of hate, but for their own safety, before listing a number of radical Islamic terror attacks. Omar dismissed this suggestion immediately and laid the blame on white males instead, calling for the profiling and monitoring of Caucasian men. I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country, she replied. And so if fear was the driving force of policies to keep America safe, Americans safe inside of this country, we should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men. And then I believe they have the interview embedded here. This isn't the first time Omar has been criticized for making controversial statements with regard to Islam. She has been publicly challenged on quotes about al-Qaeda and the 9/11 terror attacks, more specifically when she appeared at a Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, fundraiser earlier this year and described the carnage from that terrible day in September as "some people did something." CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties, she said. Omar also recently was involved in a public Twitter spat with President Trump over her attitudes towards America, and Trump told reporters Omar should leave the U.S. if she's unhappy about how the country operates. He said, if somebody has a problem with our country, if somebody doesn't want to be in our country, they should leave, he told reporters earlier this month. Trump also addressed the issue at his North Carolina political rally on July 17th and claimed Omar laughed about Americans being afraid of al-Qaeda. Omar minimized the September 11th attacks on our homeland, saying some people did something, Trump said. Some people did something? Yeah, some people did something all right. She pleaded for compassion for ISIS recruits attempting to join the terrorist organization. She was looking for compassion. Omar laughed that Americans speak of al-Qaeda in a menacing tone and remarked that you don't say America with this intensity. You say al-Qaeda makes you proud. Al-Qaeda makes you proud. You don't speak that way about America. Cannot believe the things that come out of this woman's mouth. Even more so just because she is an elected official here in the United States. Things have gone drastically wrong, and the fact that we are here and that we are taking our country back gives me so much hope for the future. Now, Post 3478 is a redrop how they gamed the FISA process and abused Five Eyes program UK to spy on POTUS. Now, here is a redrop right here, Post 2042, and our favorite Anon here says, worth remembering. Special approval, then there's a string of numbers. Setup example 1, Loretta Lynch, paper trail, special entry. That would be Natalia Veselnitskaya. To Manafort, FISA warrant issued, approved Manafort. Mueller to Manafort. FISA warrant issued, approved Papadopoulos. Mueller to Papadopoulos. FISA warrant issued, approved Page. Mueller to Page. FISA warrant issued, approved to Flynn. Mueller to Flynn. You must target, remove, and silence all those illegally targeted for FISA surveillance and UK assist. UK assist and FISA surveillance included all upstream collection, tangent contacts, umbrella surveillance, foreign target designators. Create leapfrog, hops to isolated real targets, non-F comms, section 702. And then there's a article from the NSA embedded in there. Example, P talks to X, X talks to Y. Y talks to Z. PXYZ equals bulk data collection of all of those people, umbrella. UK assist allows for normal FISA law deconstruct. Deconstruct includes D2 spy insert. Deconstruct includes non-FISA warrant special ops. Warrant special ops classified to the public. Well, this is just, again, an example of how they were able to spy on all of these people through a single FISA warrant, but it allowed them to go to every single one. And then here is another post worth remembering, redrop diagram showing leak coordination between FBI and the mainstream media. And you remember here, we have a reporter talking to all of these various people in the FBI, reporter talking to a section chief, reporter talking to assistant director, talking to special agent, and then talking to all of these different people. So these are numbers, are frequency of contacts, and direction of contacts. I wonder why the eyes are missing there. I just noticed that. And then in the next post, 3481, it's another redrop, deep cleaning at the FBI and DOJ. Q says, important to remember, correlation between FISA abuse, treason, remove, DE, POTUS, and mid-year investigation. Let's take a look at this redrop. FBI and DOJ corruption. Federal Bureau of, quote, investigation. James Comey, director, fired. Andrew McCabe, deputy director, fired. Jim Rubicki, chief of staff and senior counselor, fired. James Baker, general counsel, fired. Bill Priestap, director of counterintelligence, Strzok's boss, cooperating witness, power removed. Peter Strzok, deputy assistant director of counterintelligence, fired. Lisa Page, office of general counsel, fired, forced. Mike Cortan, assistant director of public affairs, fired. Josh Campbell, special assistant to Comey, fired. Michael Steinbeck, John Gleckalone, Randy Coleman, Tricia Anderson, Kevin Kleinsmith, and Tashina Gar. Sally Moyer also. And then Department of Justice, we have another list of names, all people who have been fired or forced. Nothing to see here. Who ordered? PDB, that would be Presidential Daily Briefing. Who ordered? I believe that would have been the former president. Next post. Redrop diagram of the fired FBI leadership team, and this is the diagram that was within that post, but we couldn't get a good look at it due to the fact that it was so small. Now this isn't much better either, but we can see here this is the chain of command for the mid-year investigation, and all of those people that were listed are in this diagram. All right, post 3483, congressional investigators seeking Nellie Orr's opposition research records on Trump family. And here is a redrop here, post 2003. Everything stated has meaning. What is the significance of Nellie Orr being fluent in Russian? Is Russian a common language to learn? Why might this language be studied? What position might this language be useful? The farm requires select skills. The farm is the clowns in America. Why is Bruce Orr still at Justice? Nellie Orr at Clowns in America. Fluent in Russian? Let's go ahead and take a look at the article from Fox. All right, so this is from 5 days ago. Congressional investigators seeking Nellie Orr's opposition research records on the Trump family. A source familiar with the closed-door testimony confirmed to Fox News that Nellie Orr told House investigators that she was tasked with doing opposition research during the 2016 campaign on Melania Trump as well as on the president's children. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge reported from Washington. Republican House investigators are working to obtain records from Russia probe figure Nellie Orr containing opposition research on then-presidential candidate Donald Trump, his wife and children, two sources familiar with the matter told Fox News. Orr has long been of interest to those looking into the genesis of the FBI's probe into Russia and the Trump campaign during the 2016 election. She worked for the opposition research firm Fusion GPS, which was behind the infamous Democrat-funded dossier of salacious claims about Trump. She is also married to Bruce Orr, a Justice Department official whose connection to Fusion GPS led to his eventual demotion. During their December 2018 closed-door deposition on Capitol Hill, Nellie Orr told investigators she did the opposition research on the Trump family for Fusion GPS. Sources said her project predated the hiring of former British spy Christopher Steele, who compiled the dossier. I was asked to research Trump's family broadly in connection with any Russian connections, she said. Nellie Orr confirmed to investigators that she explored family members' foreign travel, among other issues. I did some research on all of them, but not in much depth, she said. She also said the purpose was to see whether they were involved in dealings with transactions with people who had suspicious pasts or suspicious types of dealings. At the time of her testimony, Nellie Orr said she was still in possession of the research, but was unclear whether it was hers to share or whether it was owned by her former employer, Fusion GPS. Do you still possess the research that you performed? A Republican investigator asked her during the interview. Yes, she responded. Would you be willing to share that with the committee? I guess so, Nellie Orr said. Fox News has reached out to Nellie Orr's lawyer asking if she remains willing to provide the records, if turning over the documents requires a subpoena, and what has accounted for the 6-month delay. It is not publicly known whether any of her research was reflected in the dossier, which also looked at the travel history of former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, among others. Bruce Orr's actions during that time have been of interest to investigators. as it is believed he was the back channel between Steele, the Trump dossier author, and the FBI. Catherine Herridge, of course, is an award-winning chief intelligence correspondent for Fox News. Great work, Catherine. So yeah, very interesting. I wonder what happened to those notes and why she has not turned them over yet. I certainly would like to see those. All right, next is a document from the DNI, Procedures for the Availability or Dissemination of Raw Signals Intelligence Information by the NSA. Procedures for the Availability of Dissemination of Raw Signals Intelligence Information by the National Security Agency under Section 2.3 of Executive Order 12333, Raw SIG-INT Availability Procedures. This was classified. It has now been declassified. And you can see here it is several pages long. Looks like 11 pages long. And it is the information about how they are legally able to disseminate this signals intelligence. So we won't go through this whole thing as it's rather dry, but it is going to be available, of course, on qmap.pub, where I go to show you guys the drops. Now next, dig. Analyze this NSA SIG-INT document carefully. And Q says, important, signature page, declass for specific reason, public, analyze carefully, relevant to future pending events. So now, knowing that they want us to look at the signature page, let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, 23 pages actually. All right, and look at that. It's signed by James Clapper on December 15th, 2016, and approved by Loretta Lynch on January 3rd, 2017. Well, Hulkinator said that they changed the rules and they authorized this illegally. Per the executive order, there's no Secretary of Defense signature. It was declassed by Obama so that the data could be disseminated to people with no clearance. Why? So it could be leaked. Meaning the information regarding Donald Trump in this investigation was legally able to be leaked because of this document that was signed here. And then Post 3489 says NSA SIG-INT doc was signed by James Clapper and Loretta Lynch shortly after POTUS was elected. And then Post 3490, important, this NSA SIG-INT doc was declassified 22 years earlier than it should have been. Check the D-class on date anons, classified by 2476680, derived from NSA CSSM 152, declassify on 204-11231. That would be 2041, December 31st, 2041. This has been declassified 22 years earlier than it should have been. What does that tell you? Archive and save will become extremely important. That means that the president declassified this document well before it was supposed to be declassified. All right, first in this post that Methods gave me, the SIG-INT merger to me means everything. It explains how there was an intelligence war from the inside of the NSA, starting with the increased surveillance techniques implemented after that day in September. That attack resulted in the NSA's widespread surveillance programs. These programs were being used to collect all data, what we now know publicly as PRISM. That was under black hat control during the Bush and Obama years. They were able to only unmask certain people at these times, although all Americans were swept in. This information is referred to as a minimization requirement. Other intel agencies could not get this raw data from the NSA database. They had to request it per protocols based on agency, and even then, the NSA was in charge of following minimization rules prior to the release. The SIG-INT merger now allowed 16 agencies and deep state permanent employees to access raw NSA data. But don't forget what data the NSA had at this point. All the FISA warrants, Five Eyes, All the Unmasked Americans by Sam Powers. Now the FBI deep state plants could leak the material to the media. They could access the FISA, access the unmasked intelligence, and leak it to the media. That's why Flynn got caught up, which really gave teeth to the Russia story. Where do you think the media got the National Security Advisor's phone call? Leaked from one agency accessing NSA FISA data. Now, another post. Theory. SIG-INT merger made the Russia hoax special counsel possible. They illegally went into NSA data, leaked it to the media, and then cited the media articles as evidence in the Mueller report. The obstruction non-exoneration uses no real proof, only news articles. They couldn't use the real information from the NSA because they obtained it illegally, and then leaked it illegally. Use of the NSA data must be closely monitored, and any access should be recorded. If they're investigating the leaks, there should be a correlation between the access and leak time frame. If so, communications between leaker and reporter could also be obtained from the NSA data. Is this what Q meant by FISA goes both ways? Now, here's some posts from Hulkinator. Can someone please explain the SIG-INT drop? There is so much cross-information, I'm not connecting the dots. A doc was classified. It was unclassified 22 years early. Clapper and Lynch signed it. Obama declassified it. Now Intel can leak easily with deniability. Why would that doc be classified in the first place? Another post says they needed to get FISA materials to the press to create the Russia hoax. The FBI and Deep State leaked to reporters info they pulled from the fraudulent FISA now that they could share that NSA data. Also Flynn. How'd they get Flynn? Because they could leak and share his phone call and set him up. Okay, thanks for smoothing that out. So what is the purpose in the SIG-INT pre-D class? To establish FISA guidelines, and then the D class provided the ability to create a fake intel leak? Appears to be central to how they got Flynn. It hasn't to do with minimization. Prior to the change, the NSA has to minimize or remove personal identifiers and other info before giving to intel agencies. After this, no privacy measures were in place. It is apparent that news reports regarding the contents of General Flynn's communication with foreign officials resurfaced first during the final days of the Obama administration. Washington Post reporter David Ignatius authored a January 12, 2017 column disclosing that a senior U.S. government official indicated that General Flynn phoned Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak several times on December 29th. The day the Obama administration announced the expulsion of 35 Russian officials and other sanction measures. It is no coincidence that the leaks implicating General Flynn have grown ever since. How did Mr. Ignatius and other reporters get access to classified information, which they have used ruthlessly to both deprecate General Flynn and the Trump administration? More likely than not, they obtained such information because intelligence agents unleashed by the Obama administration had additional access to information as contemplated by the new rules and procedures approved by Attorney General Lynch and DNI Director Clapper. Since misconduct by members of the intelligence community impairs national security, the ACLJ urges President Trump to take immediate action to root out this subversive mischief. The first step in this process is to immediately revise Executive Order 12333 and invalidate the rules issued by the Obama administration officials, which increase the likelihood of intelligence leaks now and in the future. Such leaks could facilitate a soft intelligence coup that places the security of the United States at risk. The leaks must end now. Our national security depends on it. Well, there we have it, guys. This is how they were able to leak all this information to the press and to set up the president, and it explains the flowchart for the reporters to the agents that Q showed us last night. Now, post 3491 here. Jeffrey Epstein was found injured in his New York City jail cell after a possible suicide attempt. Now, today is the first day that I've seen anything related to this. However, there was an article that I found shortly after Q posted this, and I didn't even know it was on here until I went to go make this video. But I want to show you this document here real quick, this photo that Hulkinator sent over to me. Now, this is the article that I found, and it is showing as having been up for 7 days. But no one knew anything about it until tonight. You can see that the Mirror covered it 27 minutes shortly before Hulkinator found it. But NBC is showing that it has been up for 7 days. What does that mean? That is right around the time that we had the power outages in Manhattan, isn't it? And we were told previously that it was potentially a murder attempt on Epstein. Well, Q asks us to keep eyes on, so let's go ahead and take a look at the article itself. All right, so Jeffrey Epstein found injured in NYC jail cell after possible suicide attempt, sources say. Let's see. Accused pedo and wealthy Manhattan financier Jeffrey Epstein was found injured and in a fetal position inside his cell at a New York City jail, according to sources close to the investigation. Epstein, who is being held in Metropolitan Correctional Center during his trial for conspiracy and sex trafficking, was found semi-conscious with marks on his neck, two sources told NBC News 4. Investigators are trying to piece together exactly what happened, saying details remain murky. Two sources tell News 4 that Epstein may have tried to hang himself, while a third source cautioned that the injuries were not serious and questioned if Epstein might be using it as a way to get a transfer. A fourth source said an assault has not been ruled out and that another inmate was questioned. The inmate who investigators have talked to in Lower Manhattan facility has been identified as Nicholas Tartaglione, according to two sources. Tartaglione is a former police officer in Westchester County who was arrested in December 2016 and accused of killing 4 men in an alleged cocaine distribution conspiracy, then burying their bodies in his yard in Otisville in Orange County, according to court records. Sources told News 4 investigators questioned Tartaglione, and the former cop claimed not to have seen anything and insisted he did not touch Epstein. The attorney for Tartaglione denied all the claims that his client attacked the financier, saying his client and Epstein get along well. The attorney added Epstein was seen today and appears to be fine. Now, the gist of the article is the fact that he was found with injuries, and they're saying that it is a possible suicide. I think that we're still being told, however, that it was not a possible suicide, but in fact a murder attempt. And in post 3492, we go back to post 3429. How do you eliminate a liability? Where is Epstein being held? Reconcile. Do you believe in coincidences? Powerful people connected? Panic. And we're given the same article right here, and Q says painfully obvious or willfully ignorant. So it was definitely a murder attempt. Guys, next I wanted to show you that Clinton body count is trending at number 4 on Twitter. 36.6 thousand tweets. You guys, there's only one reason that is happening, because Twitter is allowing it to happen. I believe they are being forced to allow this to happen. In a very recent world, this never, ever would have taken place. Let's take a look and see what some people are saying.
Dying under mysterious circumstances. And since this 2016 election cycle began, at least 3 more people with connections to Bill and Hillary have joined that list, sparking a renewed interest in the so-called body count of people who allegedly got in the way of the Clinton machine. Remember John F. Kennedy Jr.? He was declared the front-runner for the New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator. Mary Mahoney was a Clinton White House intern. She knew enough of the inner workings of Bill's sexual advancements to be a star witness during the Clinton impeachment trials. She was brutally executed at a Starbucks she was managing in 1997. In 1993, White House counsel Vince Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park near D.C. He supposedly killed himself, and among a lengthy list of potential foul play, the bullet was never found. Then there's James McDougal, a key witness for White House prosecutors. He was serving his 3-year sentence for bank fraud at the Fort Worth Federal Medical Center in Texas. And just before he was to give a testimony before the grand jury, McDougal suffered a heart attack in solitary confinement. In 2015, Walter Scheib, a White House chef hired under Bill Clinton, joined the list. His body was found at the bottom of a river, nearly 2 miles from the base of the trail he was reportedly hiking. An autopsy determined that Scheib's death was accidental drowning, but he might have known too much. 27-year-old Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich was shot and killed in D.C. this year. There is speculation that he was the source of the controversial leaked emails allegedly sent by DNC staffers, and that he may have been murdered in retaliation. Then Sean Lucas, the lead attorney in a fraud case against the DNC, was found lying on the bathroom floor by his girlfriend when she returned home on August 2nd. His death was reported classified, pending the results of an autopsy. To this day, questions remain surrounding these and other deaths of people who were...
Absolutely incredible. that DOJ reinstates the death penalty and Clinton body count is trending number 4 on Twitter. Guys, this is it. All right, so let's go ahead and do a refresh and see if there's any more posts before I have to go to bed. And of course there are. Post 3494, expand your thinking, a Twitter status from Christine Pallone. Oh my gosh, it's my friend Lady Warrenon. Look what I found from the PDF Q just posted. Mind-blowing. The words knowingly, knowingly, knowingly. Gang of 8, C, D, and E. So C, communications about a U.S. person are those in which the U.S. person is identified. In the communication, a U.S. person is identified with the person's name, unique title, address, and other USPI is revealed in the communication in the context of activities conducted by that person or activities conducted by others and related to that person. A mere reference to a product by brand name or manufacturer's name, Boeing 707, is not an identification as a U.S. person. Section D, communications metadata, meaning the dialing, routing, addressing, or signaling information associated with a communication, but does not include information concerning the substance, purport, or meaning of the communication. The two principal subsets of communications metadata are telephony metadata and electronic communications. So we've got telephony and electronic communications right there. All right, and post 3495, do you trust the media? Let's take a look at that. Mariah S., while Inside Edition told us it was a music room where Epstein played the piano, is IE not getting the 4 a.m. emails? Let's take a look here. This is talking about the temple, and they are saying that it was a place where he played the piano, whereas previously everybody else was saying that it was just a place where he did a little bit of working out. All right, and post 3496, USA Today, story on no bail for Jeffrey Epstein. Does a person who fights hard for bail, then appeals the original decision, attempt to overturn, attempt suicide prior to the ruling of the appeal? Logical thinking. I think the answer to that is no. If he's trying to get out on bail, he is not going to kill himself inside the prison. Clearly, it was a hit and an attempt on his life. All right, here we have a video clip that Methods found. This is great. This is from the end of the hearing. Methods says, for those who missed it, when Fox News cut away after QAnon was mentioned. Let's take a listen.
What about Republican lawmakers? Have they achieved, or are they achieving their goal, in your opinion?
I don't know what they tried to achieve here. Half of it was QAnon conspiracy theories and things about there not being enough Fox News in the Mueller report. But on the whole, I think that they came off very aggressive.
But it's not. And we continue to wait here for Robert Mueller.
Interesting that they cut away from him as soon as he said QAnon. You gotta love it. They are willing to do anything to keep Q's name off of the airwaves. Here next from Methods, we have a little screen grab, a video capture of Matt Whitaker talking about the Mueller hearing. He says the good news is I think John Durham, who's very capable, plus Horowitz are looking at these exact issues. After yesterday, I think I think America is going to demand answers. Let's go ahead and take a look.
You were the U.S. attorney when he was director of the FBI, right? So
Correct.
You know him. What do you think happened yesterday?
Yeah, again, it's hard to tell. I think he was the supervisor of an investigation that had many facets and parts. I'm worried that the team never looked at the predication for the underlying investigation. He didn't seem to. Well, he didn't seem to know what Fusion GPS is. He didn't seem to know sort of Glenn Simpson.
Why did they get started? Why did they do this thing anyway?
Why are we here? I mean, I think your panel earlier mentioned that you would always, if you took over an investigation, you would look at what's the predication. How do we have authority to even investigate this crime?
The genesis of all of this.
The genesis. Yeah. And the good news is I think John Durham, who's very capable, plus Horowitz are looking at these exact issues. And we need, after yesterday, I think America is going to demand answers as to these fundamental questions. Sure. As how did we get here? And how do we make sure this never happens again? Right. We can't have a cloud over a new incoming president for 2 years. I mean, it was completely unfair to President Trump to have this hanging over his head for 2 years.
And after the Mueller report came out,
Excellent point by Matt Whitaker right there. This must never happen again. The fact that the Democrats and the coup plotters were able to do this is just incredible. All right, so yesterday it was reported by True Pundit that an FBI agent named Sal Cincinnelli had passed away about a week ago in a tragic quote-unquote suicide in an Austin bar. I believe it was named the Corner Bar. True Pundit has put out a lot of reports that ended up bearing out, but unfortunately there was no supporting evidence with it. So I wanted to look into it myself. So I did some digging, and I was eventually able to find a funeral notice, but that was all that I found. I did find some information about someone related to Sal. But the only thing that I found really was just the fact that that he had passed away and there was going to be a funeral. Well, I was able to match up the information from that funeral notice to show that there was an FBI agent named Sal Cincinnelli, and that they shared a birth date. So I did post that yesterday, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment. But today, people have been digging for the last 24 hours, and someone found this on Facebook. It's from U.S. Karate Academy. It's a sad day at the U.S. Karate Academy. I'm very sorry to say that Sal Cincinnelli has passed away. Goes on to talk about the actual funeral notice that I did find. This is a picture of Sal Cincinnelli. Apparently, he committed suicide on the dance floor at that bar. Now, I have been contacted by some people in the Austin area. I may have eyewitness firsthand information to report on very soon, but now that we've gotten people digging up more information about Sal, I thought that it was appropriate to go ahead and talk about it. Now, Lyndon right here found this post on Reddit, and this individual says, I have several coworkers who were there when it happened. They said it was very strange. The moment it happened, the bartender came out from behind the bar, took off his shirt, revealing an FBI vest beneath it. One of them was pushed out by a small, very strong woman also wearing an FBI shirt. They were cleared out quickly and told not to take any photos or video even outside. Then someone says, can confirm. Sounds insane, but same story I heard from a friend who works there. Just to clarify, was the victim or bartender wearing the FBI vest under a shirt? The bartender. So very strange that an FBI agent would be bartending at this bar when FBI agents were there partying, since other normal people were there. So this officer, it really sounds like he was suicided, and perhaps there were fellow FBI agents there who were involved in it. Now, I called the FBI yesterday. I tried to see if I could get transferred to Sal. They transferred me to a number, and then I was transferred into a general mailbox. And I also tried to call the bar itself to verify whether or not this happened, and there is no one answering at that bar, so I don't know that it's open again yet. But everything that I found today does, in fact, confirm that Sal Cincinnelli was, in fact, an FBI agent, and he did pass away due to a gunshot to the head in the middle of a crowded bar. So let's go ahead and take a look at that post from yesterday, and I'll show you the actual funeral notice. All right, so yesterday I said I've been trying to verify this story all day. FBI won't discuss. The bar where he allegedly died will not answer the phone, but I found this obituary, and it is the same date of birth as the FBI agent Sal Cincinnelli. So we have that listed here. Now, there was also when I was going through the listing here, there's like a guest book. I don't know if anyone has ever had a family member who died, but many times in these guest books you can sign it and say something about the deceased. So let's take a look at an entry from that. All right, and right here, Holly Trask signed it and said, I met Sal about 8 years ago when he was new to my work team, a.k.a. C-35. C-35 is the code for the counterterrorism unit at the FBI. So, she's just saying that she's sad to see that Sal is gone. Okay, so it says FBI agents are mourning the death of one of the Bureau's top financial crime supervisors who reportedly shot and killed himself on a crowded nightclub dance floor, according to top FBI insiders. Sal Cincinnati, a former Wall Street broker who joined the FBI in 2010, died last week during a night out after an FBI training session. Cincinnati was one of a supervisory special agent who spearheaded many of the FBI's high-profile and complex Wall Street investigations, including probing the finances of the Clinton Foundation. That right there, that is the kicker. He was only 41 years old. They were reportedly out partying with FBI colleagues at the Container Bar, a trendy watering hole in Austin. The group had been drinking and dancing, and later in the evening, Cincinnati reportedly turned the gun on himself on a crowded dance floor. Bar owner Bridget Dunlap did not respond to phone calls seeking details of the incident. FBI agents on site and police instructed witnesses to delete any video and photographs of the event and cleared out the bar, according to reports. Likewise, FBI officials instructed Austin police to not release any details of the death to the media. Witnesses at the nightclub were also told to stay offline and keep quiet about the shooting. The FBI has not commented on Cincinnati's death. So very, very strange. Obviously a developing story, and Sal Cincinnati has been an agent of some acclaim. He was scheduled to speak at a couple of events later in the year. I was able to find those. And also a relative of his was in some trouble not too long ago. All right, so right here is perhaps his sister, perhaps, maybe a cousin, but somebody close to him and his family. She was an NYPD police officer, and she apparently tried to hire a hitman to take out her boyfriend. So apparently she asked someone who said that they could help her get a hitman. They alerted the FBI and then cooperated as an informant. Now, the thing is that she also wanted his 15-year-old daughter killed in the bargain because she was in the way of her spending time with her lover. Very, very tragic story. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this one, you guys, because it is an actual, real happening. All right, guys, and finally for today, from Methods, nothing to see here, just a Disney Epstein Island connection. Look at this, guys. The Epstein Island, Little St. James Island, is an actual stop if you're on a Disney cruise. It says, afterward, make your way to your second snorkel stop, Little St. James Island, where curious fish dart back and forth in the clear blue water. This is an actual document from Disney showing that they used Little St. James Island as a spot for kids and families to depart on their Disney cruise for a snorkeling jaunt. Just incredible. Looks like they have removed Clinton body count from the trending list, but that's okay because we saw it. Far more tweets than Lori Harvey. Look at that. 4,698 tweets. There was over 39,000 tweets previously for the Clinton body count. Maybe they didn't allow it to happen. Maybe they just didn't catch it soon enough. All right, folks, I know this was a long video, but we had a lot of things to get to. There's even a couple posts I wasn't able to read, so go ahead and check them out yourself at qmap.pub. Don't forget to join us Saturday night for the first appearance of the interview with my good friend and fellow researcher Methods. I know it's going to be a good one. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.